Hey, Flames fans, welcome to the post-Rasmus Andersson trade edition of Flames Unfiltered.
Yes, Kyle, we're here. We kind of waited all weekend for this. We had a show planned to record tonight anyways because the Flames play tomorrow, and we were delaying, and all it took to get this thing done was a conversation between me and you on, hey, let's push this back to tomorrow or the next day, and boom, we get a deal, right?
Yeah, it was kind of weird how it was like so quiet all day, like eerily so, especially after like the goodbye yesterday in terms of Andersson waving to the crowd, his third star, and high-fiving his teammates. Like we knew it was over, but yeah, this was a long Sunday.
Kind of felt like that all week because, Tuesday that the rumblings really picked up after the Columbus game, and then after the Chicago game, they really kind of started coming on. And I honestly thought like Friday we were going to get the deal. Like I was all ready for it. Even Saturday all day. I kind of waited, and then Rasmus takes the ice to play Saturday. Your thoughts on that to start?
Like I said, I mean, I was okay with him getting like a victory lap with the Flames to a point, but if it was my decision, I wouldn't have done that. Yeah.
It kind of, now that this has happened, it kind of tells me that maybe things kind of derailed Saturday, because we're hearing that Rasmus Andersson said that he was not going to re-sign with any other team. So that shifted gears with the Boston offer, with the rumored Detroit offer, and everything that was out there, I think, and then kind of hit the cold button. And I suppose that's why they made the decision to go with it and have him play. But boy, I didn't like the decision at all. I don't like rolling dices like that. That's $1 million dices, and the future of this franchise. I wasn't a big fan of it. And then, like we talked about this morning, it was just crickets. There was nothing rolling on this at all. And I didn't think we were going to get it today. And then at the last minute, we do.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. It's weird to me too. Like the Flames are absolutely awful at moving players at the right time. Like they suck at it. They never make the deal when they should. But
so when is the right deal on this one, Kyle? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
When there was more term left on his deal, because that's what scared everybody away, right? So probably last summer, but I mean the Flames and myself as well at the time stupidly thought this team was going to be better than what they are.
So that changes things.
It does, but I mean you give the player all of the leverage. And before I come across kind of too negative, Conroy's typically done quite well in trade returns, and I think this one he actually also did quite well. He got a pretty desirable flippable asset, and we'll get into the return here in a second, but referring to Zach Whitecloud. But you can't wait till halfway through a season, an expiring deal to deal someone. It's just bad asset management. I mean, I get the whole rental thing, right? So that's a big part of hockey, but this in particular is like we knew for a long time he wasn't sticking around.
We did, and I get why they didn't deal him last year in season when we were right there in the playoff race. So it's like I get it. But although you had higher hopes than me coming into this season, I think a summer deal would have made a whole lot more sense in this deal. But all in all, when I saw this return, and in contrary to a lot of things I'm seeing on X today, but I'm starting to believe that the only thing I see on X is people complaining. So that holds true with this too. And a lot of negativity around this. And I sit and I look at it and I think, well, I compare it to the Hanovan deal. Like, oof, we had a right to be negative there. This one, I don't feel horrible about it. And I guess I'd be happy to do a little bit of a rundown on what happens. So Vegas gets Rasmus Andersson, 29-year-old defenseman. In his UFA season, 50% the Flames retain on the $4.55 million contract. To the Flames, we get 29-year-old defenseman Zach Whitecloud. He is a right-handed defenseman. We will get into that more later. In year 4 of 6 at 2.75, we get a unsigned NCAA product at the University of North Dakota, playing with Cole Reshney right now, Abraham Weeb, and the 2027 Vegas first-round pick, the 2027 second-round pick, which upgrades to a first if Vegas wins the Cup this season. There. So we have Vegas's pick this year. So we have their first round this year, next year, and possibly the next year. So
Well, yeah, and the thing is too, and this has been pointed out a couple times on X. If the Knights win the cup, this year's pick becomes 32, which belongs to Calgary, right?
Yes.
And I hope like how Conroy thought of that when he made this deal. You know, if you're rooting for that second to become a first, you also got to understand you have the last pick of the first round. But in a deep draft, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I think anywhere from 22 to 32, you're probably throwing darts at all pretty good players, probably. I guess scouts might agree with that.
For the most part. And there's a third Flames prospect in North Dakota too, isn't there?
Yes, Cade Littler.
Yes, Littler. That's right. I was trying to think who it was. Yes,
a big center who doesn't get a lot of talk that I've been very, very impressed with this year when I watch. Cade Littler is a guy that this organization, I hope they're. I mean, I know they're watching him, and that's kind of why I think Abram Weeb was in on this deal. Is they spent a lot of time watching Reshny and Littler over the last few years, and Weeb's in his third year, I believe, at North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
A 7th round pick in 2022 for the Vegas Golden Knights, a big left shot defenseman. I believe he's 6'3". There's a guy that is, albeit a 7th round pick, who has looked very, very good. I believe he has 14 points in 26 games this year or something like that. So all in all, I mean, some high upside there.
Yeah, he's unsigned, but his development suggests that he's much better than a 7th round pick, you know, the way that he's been tracking. And he's over 200 pounds, which at 6'3" is, you know, what you want to see in a player that size. Moves puck well, skates well. And I saw it suggested that, you know, he was maybe thrown in because he was playing with Reshny and Littler, especially Reshny, as if it was like a friendly kind of deal. But I don't think that's the case at all. The reality is the Flames got to watch this guy a lot, like you said, from scouting Reshny and Littler, especially Reshny, I'm sure, and thereby decided, hey, we'd like this guy thrown in too. But they do have to get him signed.
I can promise you that he couldn't be at a better place with the facility they have there and the staff there. It's top notch. It's actually their facility makes the Saddle Dome look like a laugher. Makes many NHL arenas look like a laugher. And he's going to get, you know, I think what it was is I think Calgary kind of maybe pointed him out and wanted him in the deal because they have spent so much time you know, watching him because of Reshny and Littler. So that's an interesting thing. The one thing that did was a slight head scratcher to me was a team that's offensively, what would
Inept
is a more professional way of putting it. There you go, Kyle. We get a defenseman, and the Whitecloud, as much as I like Zach Whitecloud, I really, really do. But he is also a right side defenseman, and we kind of have a glut of right side defensemen. But I guess there's multiple ways to look at it. But I love to hear your take on that.
Well, I just tweeted he's like the most flippable asset you could possibly have. 2 years left at 2.75 per. Having a bit of a rough season by his standards, but you know, highly regarded in the league. Lots of experience. Stanley Cup winner. I think making the money work is partly why Calgary took him, but knowing he had so little term and such a low cap hit, like you could easily flip this guy by March 6th and get a pretty good pick for him, I think. And I think, in fact, I'm certain, or at least I'm praying, that the Flames are going to move 2, maybe 3 defensemen between now and the deadline because they have way too many.
I'm kind of, well, I agree with you, but I do go back and forth on that a little bit too, because I don't remember years ago. I just remember hearing many, albeit the one that really stands out is Brian Burke saying you can never have enough good defensemen. And we still are uncertain on what we're going to get with Zane Parekh at the NHL level. We're still somewhat uncertain what we're going to get with Hunter Brustevich, albeit I think we got a little bit better idea.
The offense is going to come slowly for both, well, especially for Brustevich, I think, who's been really good defensively. But
you know what? Going into that, and the bright spot with that is, Kyle, the thing, not just us, but the organization was concerned about was going to be Brustevich defensively. And I think he's already started to solidify and prove to me that, hey, I took care of that part of my game. And I think we're going to start seeing more offense from him. So I really like what we got there, but that creates a glut on the right side, right?
Well, if he gets the opportunity, and I would completely disagree with Brian Burke, if you're a team like the Flames or you are completely rudderless going absolutely nowhere, you can have way too many defensemen when it means that your young ones who could be potential studs don't get to play enough. And that's where I have serious issues with this return.
I agree.
Yeah. No, I shouldn't say with the return, but the management of said return. I really like Zach Whitecloud as well. But the Flames have to move out some defensemen, and I mean have to. They cannot allow Ryan Huska to limit the minutes of guys that need the experience now, or this team is not going to be any damn good by the time that arena opens in 2027.
So I should have looked at this prior to us going on, but Zach Whitecloud, do we know if he has what his trade status is? No trades or anything like that. Obviously, he doesn't have a no move. It's got to be. I just would have a hard time believing he doesn't have some sort of like 10-team list or whatnot.
No, based on when he signed his deal, though, I don't know if he's in position to do that, right? So, let's say he wasn't in a position, but I mean, I don't think it was the top of his mind. I mean, he got a 6-year commitment from a taxless state like Nevada. I mean, I think he was happy to sign the deal and run with it. So, I suspect they can flip him to anybody they so desire.
And on top of that, there's probably a good chance that Calgary would have been on the no trade list.
I don't know. He's from Brandon, Manitoba, I believe.
Is he?
Yeah.
He is from Brandon, Manitoba.
Yeah, Dakota First Nation lineage as well. So, and that's your stereotypical Western Canadian kid. I mean, I think he's probably happy to be going to Calgary, but I have no doubt that the Flames have probably talked to him and said, hey, want to hang on to you for a little while, or don't unpack your bags, or whatever the messaging may be.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm not sure really what will happen with that, but yeah, an asset that if it's not moved this year, could be moved next year, or who knows? Maybe he's a guy that fits right in, does a heck of a good job, and we re-sign him. You just don't know, right?
Well, it's funny now. He and Braden Pahal, former teammates, are and he got Miramonov with the Wranglers as well. But all these right shot defensemen who are all familiar with one another. But you got to believe Joel Hanley is as good as gone. I have to believe that, and Pahal could be as well. These are pieces that can fetch decent returns.
I hate that Pahal, I do think will be on the move along with Hanley, but I hate that because I love what Pahal brings to this team, and at his price tag, I think, wow, is that like a third line guy that's just going to be, geez, that's
he's eating popcorn a lot lately because of the emergence of Prstevich, but he's still a very, very useful piece, and I mean he provided the between him and Kevin Ball the highlight hit of the season, right? So, sure. But again, as teams, and that's what I'm saying earlier, like teams that are in the playoff race or know they're going to be in the playoffs, you can trade any number of the defensemen we just talked about to like 15, 16 different teams, right?
Yeah.
I'm just not convinced they're smart enough to do it. Like we cannot have a logjam of forwards or defensemen at this rate. And there's a lot of forwards around this team too.
So who's next? Or is there a next? Who's
there
next?
Has to be a next. If there is not a next, then this team, I'm going to order a Rebiggle t-shirt and sell the rest of my Flame shit. That's now in terms of who's next, I mean, the first big domino of the new year is fallen. So if Coleman wasn't hurt, I'd be inclined to think it's him because he's such a diverse player. But I mean, I would think it's going to be him or Kadri.
Elliot Friedman just reported within the last hour that Blake Coleman has expressed interest in staying in Calgary, which doesn't
now he's also expressed interest in going to Dallas. Of course, we know he's from Texas, but apparently he also just built a home in Dallas or thereabouts. So yeah, I've heard both those things today.
Yeah, those are options. I don't know. My gut tells me we don't move him, and my gut tells me we don't move Kadri either.
I hate your gut right now.
I do too.
I would punch you in said gut if we weren't, numerous states and provinces apart.
It's I don't know, and I'm trying.
They can't be that stupid, can they?
I don't know. That's a problem. I wish I had the confidence in this franchise that I would just say, no, Kyle, they're not going to do that. They are going to handle this assets correctly and make said moves to better our franchise. But I just don't know. It's a confidence factor, right? When you get kicked so many times, you start to worry, right? And I just feel like as a Flames fan, we've been kicked so many times. You put that worry in us. Now, could they prove us totally wrong? Yeah, and I hope they do. We'll see, I guess, in the next 8 weeks. So,
yeah, and I understand where you're coming from because there is no reason to have faith that they're going to do the right things necessarily. Although I do think this trade is a decent start and a decent return. It's funny, I'm still getting blown up with texts about the trade, but
were you surprised at some of the negativity on the return?
I think a lot of the negativity is born immediately of, for God's sakes, we made another deal with Vegas. I'm sick of trading with Vegas. I don't like trading within the division. I have a bit of a hate for Vegas because, they don't, everybody wants to play there. There's no state tax, blah, 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 blah. So I think that's where some of it comes from, is people just have a negative view towards Vegas, especially when I think a lot of people liked the alleged Boston return, and I know people like the alleged Detroit return. But the negativity doesn't surprise me, because you got to remember too, Don Maloney's comments a few months ago set an extremely negative tone around this franchise.
Yep.
So, and that's still in the back,
whether
they want it or not.
Those comments changed everything that night. That was a night that when he came on the TV, I was like, okay, I didn't really listen.
Well, that's why that stupid Rebiggle t-shirt exists, because it became such a laughingstock amongst the fan base, right? And deservedly so. It was ridiculous. It was embarrassing, and it never should have happened. But the response to the trade from the Vegas side seems to be, wow, we give up a lot. And those that are kind of more neutral that I've seen have thought, Calgary looks like a potential winner in this.
I had a Vancouver fan that texted me right away and said, what a return for Calgary.
Well, he got everything. So you got a movable asset or a reliable defenseman in return. You get a first-round pick. You get a second that could become a first, and you have a college player who was very underrated because he was drafted in the 7th round. That's the only reason anybody is shitting on him. If they've watched him play or read the scouting reports, they would change their tune pretty quick.
I agree. I agree. Yep. No, I don't think it's too bad. So Rasmus Andersson out of Calgary after 583 games, 260 points. A guy that did a lot for this team over the years. I
remember his first goal or his first point was against Washington. I was at the Keg restaurant for some kind of work event, watching it at the bar, and I remember, but yeah, he's one of the top 10 defensemen in Flames history, I think, and Robert Munich had made a list that made that very evident. We shit on him a lot last year because he had a terrible season. We later found out that had a lot to do with injury, but I mean, once he figured out the conditioning part of being a pro athlete, he's been one of the best defensemen, probably top 25 in the league just about every year he's played, if not top 20. And it's kind of hard to see him go. He had a lot of personality too. The Rasmus stare, I'm going to miss that greatly. Seeing that live a couple times was just so fun.
I am going to miss having him on the team. He was a stalwart back there. He did his job. I know my heart skipped the other night when he fought Poon Jenner, because I was just like, no, don't get hurt right now. But this is I'm not like losing sleep over this, because this is an asset that where we were in the contract, there's no way we were that it would have been smart to give him a long-term deal at a high-end price at his age. And it wouldn't have been good for the organization, as much as I do like Rasmus.
Well, it was never going to age well either, because at his age now, and this is one of the concerns that was brought up yesterday prior to this trade even being consummated, was if Andersson signs an 8-year deal in Vegas, well, then you're in, years like 37, 38 years old. And by that point, you're not worth it. No. And I mean, that's disrespectful towards Andersson. That's just the reality of being a pro hockey player, and, what happens when you reach that age. Now, seeing him go, again, it's weird. It's tough. I'm sure Michael Backlund's having a hard time with it, as the rest of the team would be. But it also got me thinking that now, if I'm not mistaken, the last 2 remaining players in that 22 team are Backlund and Coleman. Everybody else is gone.
Okay. Yeah. It's funny how quick that goes, huh?
Oh, man, unbelievable. Well, that's what happens when you don't have a good hockey team, right?
Well, look, I mean, just in the last couple of years, all the UFAs we've shed. I mean, it's been a revolving room door going out of here.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that's what has to change in the Flames thinking, for all the talk of mediocrity, and it's absolutely justified. If they can adjust the way, rather the timing with which they deal their players, because the returns have been pretty damn good for the most part. They missed a bit on Miramonov, but there's some of the pieces in that trade for Hanifin that they work out okay. Now, mind you, they botched the whole Hanifin handling of the trade itself, but they've generally got good returns. If they can start cashing in on players instead of hanging on this belief, training camps around the corner, we could be a good team, when you're not going to be a good team, if you're being honest with yourself.
I think I think this organization, and we've kind of been preaching this about every week this year, is just like it's like they need to be in tune with reality and make decisions based on reality, not on not on decisions on hopes, right?
It's that old Jay Feaster line, right? Intellectually honest.
Mm-hmm.
And we should get some insight into how they see all this when Conroy inevitably has a press conference, I presume tonight or in the morning at the very latest, to address the trade.
I was listening to the 960, and it did sound like in the next 2 hours there would be Conroy on. We'll see. But
fun little side note too. Zach Whitecloud wore number 2 in Vegas. I don't think he's going to get that number in Calgary because of Al McInnes. Although, mind you, Mike Commodore wore it when he played for Calgary, and I don't think anybody. No, actually, no. I don't think he's worn it since. I was going to say Brett Carson, but he was number 3.
I hope nobody. I hope he doesn't get it.
I think he's going to don 22 because that's available. Anyway, that's a little side.
We had to throw in the jersey talk.
Oh, always. Anyway, so on the whole, I feel pretty okay about this trade. I'm glad it's finally over with because I'm so sick of hanging on to these pieces. And I do think whether it's a defenseman and the next trade is a forward or it's a different team, trading a big piece greatly impacts the rest of the market. So thereby we should see a lot more trade activity, at least trade talk in the weeks ahead to the deadline.
I think so. And I think the Olympics played a role in this too. And I know if I was general manager of this team, the Olympics would have played a big role in it because that's a level of hockey that's going to be really, really intense and a lot can happen in that. And, you know, when you're holding this card that you know you have to move, it's scary to have them out there playing for somebody else, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, who was it? Was it Charlie McAvoy last year that got hurt at the Four Nations?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the same kind of thing that happened.
Geez, I'm digging back. What was it was it the Olympics the last time the NHL players played when Tavares got hurt really bad?
Yeah, 2014, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It's been a lot of injuries this year in the NHL with a tough workload, and now they're going to play in the Olympics and have a tougher workload. I don't know.
Like Coleman right now, right?
Yeah. Well, we thought was just a day-to-day or has been a little bit wild, right? That's scary. Yeah. That's scary. Yeah. So before we move on to other Flames talk, I want to talk about this roster management situation and what this does to the defensive pairings now, having Whitecloud basically move into where Andersson was. Do you put him with Ball and keep Uyghur with Kuznetsov? Or what do you do if you're Ryan Huska tomorrow morning?
Mike Gold did tweet of this, and I actually love the idea. Whitecloud with Uyghur, Ball with Parekh, and Brstevich with Kuznetsov. I think that's how you maximize your current personnel, but I'm not sure Whitecloud will still be around. Hanley, I think, has to be moved. I really firmly believe that he's got to go.
You know, I know, and I think Hanley should go, and I kind of got a feeling that as much as I don't want him to, Paul will probably too. I just really, I don't know, and fan base is probably going to rip me a new one on this one. I don't know that you stick Parekh out there this year. I just don't.
I think he's just got to learn how to play. He can't play in the AHL, so what else do you do?
No, I know, but you can't run him out there every night. I think you got to keep someone to go with him. Like,
okay, so you play him every third game, and you put Pahal in on occasion.
Yep.
He's still going to play it now with Andersson gone. Not Andersson had a bomb from the point, but I mean, I still think you have to have that power play ice time. Uyghur has never done anything on the power play, with all due respect to him. I think Parekh and Brstevich need to be one or both of them need to be manning the first and second power play units.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know after this. There's going to be a domino effect here, so it's really easy for us to see what the deep pairings look like tomorrow night, assuming Whitecloud can get into town in time for that game.
Exactly.
But
and I wonder too, like, and I'm not trying to rip on Parekh for that, and we can talk about him for a few moments here, as he's been assigned to the American Hockey League Wranglers for a conditioning stint, which is 5 games or 2 weeks. I know he played today. I did not hear how that went, but
it went very poorly for him in overtime.
Oh, really? Jeez.
Well, I think he was a little overzealous. It's overtime. It's a crapshoot. I'm not going to shit on him for that, but I mean, he had the Condors scored on a play where he was caught really, really deep in the Condors' end. But that's part of learning her professionally. So I'm not worried about him, but
As long as he learns, I'm fine with it, right? I'll take the bumps now. Now's when we need to take the bumps, right? I just hope that he learns from it, right?
He will. He's an incredibly intelligent player. So it's just going to take some time. And now that Andersson's been traded, we have to start embracing how terrible the rest of the season could be, which will position us exactly where we need to be for the draft. Unless Devin Cooley keeps playing like a Vezina candidate, and that's.
I know the Andersson. It's obviously going to have an effect on where we go for the rest of the way. I don't know that it's going to be as. I mean, now we start moving Coleman and Kadri, and it really ramps up the difficulty. I don't know.
Coleman's going to impact this team a lot more than Kadri has. Kadri has not been very good lately.
No, he hasn't, and that scares me. God, I wanted that move to be done last summer, but
well, I think he needs a fresh start. I mean, Kadri is a competitor and he's a winner, and he's playing on a team that is not very good, as we've had to face all year and for most of the year anyway. And hopefully he gets traded back to a contender.
Let's talk about the roster management a little bit. I kind of had a little freak out moment this week with Ryan Huska on the Stromgren. He gets 8 minutes, 7:27 and 6:21 in his 3 appearances, all of which were buried on the 4th line of no talent and no offensive talent, I should say. And my frustration level was at a peak. There's this organization keeps bringing up their young prospects and putting them in horrendously poor positions to succeed. Just like I do think you are correct, we have to put Zane Parekh in the right moments and the right positioning with the right people so that he succeeds, right? I just don't understand why, as an organization, the Flames told us that they were going to angle more towards youth. And as much as I was even hardly convinced on that, visiting with you and watching what's happened over the last 8-9 months, I'm on pro youth, right? Mm-hmm. So I post that I'm frustrated with the recall of Dryden Hunt and the lack of look that you gave Stromgren. I get crucified on X, which I think anything anybody says anymore, you get crucified. And I get told that, we're the 6th youngest roster in the National Hockey League. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't mean that we're
playing the young players.
We're playing the young players in the right positions, right? I mean, you can say that all you want. We have 8 players in the lineup that are 25 years or younger and 6 that are 30 years and older, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is we were told that the opportunities were going to be given to a guy like Gridden and a guy like Stromgren and the list goes on, right? Rustevich, which they have given him some run. They have given Kuznetsov some run. Yes, they've given Connor Zary some run, but they should. He was drafted how many years ago now? He's not even that young anymore.
Yep, and he's finally heating up too.
Finally heating up. But
and how good is Kuznetsov? Like in all this defensive talk too, how do we not talk about how good Kuznetsov has been?
He's been amazing. He's so good that we're not even talking about it. Same with Rustevich. Both of them have stepped right in and look just like everyday NHLers, and nobody's even saying anything about it because it's just like, if Parekh came in and made an impact like Kuznetsov has, freaking Twitter would be filled, everybody telling us how wonderful Zane Parekh is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. But it also brings me to the X factor, and I'm not saying. I'll read it first and I'll explain my point on this. And it's from Red Hot Hockey. He says, "You know what makes me angry? The biggest voices on Flames Twitter hate the team. They make a good point from time to time, but if we won the cup, they'd complain about the coach's forward utilization." And this kind of got me upset. And I'm not saying that we are one of the biggest voices on Twitter, and that's not at all what I'm getting at with this. But my point is, I think people are missing the point on our criticizing. We're criticizing the fact that Lomberg and Kirkland and Hunt and we just keep running out the same guys. We run out, and I'm gonna nail this one too. We keep running out Huberdeau every single night after he's been a ghost for week upon week upon week. Sit him a little bit. I know we can't move him. I know we can't send him down. I know all those things. but it doesn't hurt to give him a break and put a young person in a top 6 position so they can succeed. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, first of all, if we won the cup, nobody would be complaining. That's the one part about that X factor I disagree with. But it's not going to happen anytime soon. And in the overall point, I do agree with that. Yeah, it's pretty negative. But when you think about how quickly this Flames team fell again from 22 when Gaudreau and Tkachuk left to where we are today, and some of the terrible decisions that were made, and one of them being, with all due respect, Jonathan Huberdeau, because I've often complained to anyone who'll listen, you cannot give that kind of money in term to a player who's never played a game for you or lived even in your province, right? I thought that was stupid, irresponsible.
I will say I thought that trade was amazing at the time, and I still think
we all did.
But you know what, Kyle? I still think it was a good trade in the fact that I don't think the signing was good, but I do think it still was a good trade. I mean, look at what we got. We got Uyghur out of that too.
Oh, the trade was great, but the signing was awful.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it was, and that's and it's funny because Tree Living wouldn't give up the deals that he should have to guys like Gaudreau and Tkachuk, years earlier. But anyway, that's not the point here. Point is yeah, it's super frustrating that the same guys keep getting doled out night after night, and then we see a little bit of hope. Like Gridden actually played high up in the lineup yesterday, which was
played high up with Zary, so that was good.
Yeah, so if we can see more of that, and also again with this logjam of defensemen, which the Andersson trade was supposed to fix, but we got a good tradable / serviceable experienced defenseman in return. Now we have to turn our attention to the D utilization as well, right?
This trade is still really fresh. I mean, this literally, what did we find out about this 60 minutes ago? So it's fresh, and as the night goes on and into tomorrow, our thought process into this will be, we'll think about it more and determine what we feel about it even more. But as much as when I saw Zach Whitecloud's name, my first thought was he's a left defenseman, right? And I'm like, crap, no, he's not.
Yeah.
But the lefty, I could have seen it completely. I mean, if you trade Hanley and you put Whitecloud in there and you got Kuznetsov, Ball, and Whitecloud, I like that a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, but then when you brought up the point about flipping him, that is a strong asset that we could get here in a couple weeks, and there's some real possibility there.
I could see a team like Boston targeting, quite frankly. Or Detroit. A lot of these teams are going to the playoffs for the first time in a while, especially in Detroit's case. They're going to want defensemen who've won Stanley Cups and can clear the front of the net and block shots and do all those things. But I don't mind hanging on to Whitecloud at all, so long as we were to actually move some other defensemen. But how that plays out, it's hard to say at this point. But I also remember somebody made a stupid comment towards Whitecloud asking what kind of last name he had. And it's like, anybody who doesn't know anything about indigenous cultures, it's like the most ignorant thing you can say, right? I worked closely with First Nations communities for a long time in my life. And when I saw his name in the trade, I'm like, I remember that controversy. And that was just so friggin' ignorant. But by all accounts, a great guy. Again, a little bit of a down year this year, but change of scenery does a lot for a guy, right?
Well, he's a big, strong, physical player, and he gets the job done. And I remember during the Vegas Cup run, he was kind of an unknown player, and was a key part in that run for them. So, an asset that the Flames could really use, or an asset that they could flip and get a good return on. So, all in all, I do feel like this is a pretty good trade, considering some of the leverage was lost with Andersson saying he was not going to re-sign anywhere. That right there shut out a few teams right away. So then
it Boston deal, yeah. Dead. Right?
It makes you take a step back, and if you really look at this deal, it's probably not too bad for either team, really. I think it's probably one of those trades that we can look at and say, yeah, I think it's probably a good trade for both teams. So it'll be. I
just wish it wasn't with Vegas. Like, I'm just so sick of Vegas, and there does come there eventually becomes an element of irresponsibility when you keep getting pigeonholed into dealing with the same team in your own division year after year. Like, it's like, okay, like enough is enough. Like,
well, I mean, if it was the best return, I don't care really who it's with.
It was the only return because nobody else was willing to take Andersson without an extension.
Yeah. So
and that's where I take issue with it. And I mean, again, Conroy did really well with the return he got. I think it's a good trade for Calgary, but I hate the way these circumstances keep playing us right into Vegas' hand. It drives me mental. And never mind what I just said too about how If they win the cup, great, we get another first, but it downgrades the first we have this year. It's like they always win. It's like that whole house always wins thing, right? Well,
Yeah.
It's no coincidence it's Vegas we're talking about.
Yeah. Another bright spot in Calgary this week was Martin Pospisil coming off IR and heading to the AHL Wranglers for a conditioning stint. All signs point that we'll be seeing him in the near future. I believe he played today. I did not hear how he did. I've been running today, and I didn't get to catch up with the Wranglers game at all.
I saw him. Him in warm up, and nothing remarkable that I'm aware of. But I mean, it's been a long, long road back for him, and hopefully he's where he needs to be.
What last thing I wanted to talk about before we talk about Hockey Day in Canada? Connor Zary has really lately been really good with 14 points in his last 20 games, and just 4 points in his first 26. What happened? Why are we seeing and I'm happy about it, but why are we seeing a different Connor Zary?
Well, I think after his freak knee injuries last year, I think he was a little bit hesitant to begin the season. And I think that the coaching staff stuck him with plugs far too often to be frank about it. Yeah, they really, really hurt him that way. And I really thought it was unfair to Zary. But I mean, I think he just stuck with it and played his way out of it. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he finished the season he'll be your second half leading scorer, I believe. But he's a really, really talented player, and he often gets forgotten about because as the years go by, you accumulate more first-round picks and more prospects. This guy still has the potential to be a 60, 70-point player in the NHL, and I still believe he's going to get there. Could be as early as next season, especially if we move out some guys that push him further up the lineup, right?
Well, let's see what happens. I've been hard on him this year, but I also really like what I've seen lately. So that's fun to see. Now, the Hockey Day in Canada, which is one of our favorite days of the year, was in Moncton, in your backyard this year. And I know you took part in a lot of the festivities and Phyllis.
Yeah, I did. I was at the banquet on Thursday night, which was great. They did the panel. Ken Reid from Sportsnet is just hilarious. Anyway, they were all super gracious. Spent some time with Kelly Rudy and his wife Donna. They were just the nicest people, and got to chat with them a bunch. And he was really curious about how I became a Flames fan. And actually, it's funny when I ran into him at the hotel bar where the bank was being held. He kind of laughed when I introduced myself. He said, "I just messaged you an hour ago, and I hadn't seen it yet, right?" So anyway, so we got chatting for a bit, and I got to tell Kevin Bieksa that I hated him as a player, but I love him as an analyst. David Amber, Ivanka Osmak, Elliot Friedman was fantastic. Kyle Bukauskas was great. Like every one of them was just, they seemed legitimately happy to be there, and you could kind of tell like they put their game faces on to engage with the crowd. And one of the funner things that happened at the banquets, the Wildcats coaching staff was there along with a bunch of the players, including Caleb Desnoyers, who was first-round NHL draft pick, of course. And during the banquet, they auctioned off one of his jerseys. And I was standing next to Caleb and chatting with him a little bit, took a picture with him, whatever. They were auctioning off one of his game-worn jerseys, and it got over $2,000. I think it went for $2,600. When it got over 2,000, Caleb turned to me. He's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like this 18-year-old kid who's like, all of a sudden his memorabilia is worth some money. I mean, and he's been a dominant player for us in the Q this year. So seeing his reaction to like him becoming famous before his own eyes was pretty cool. But yeah, all in all, it was awesome. The Cats game last night was sold out. Elliot Friedman was beating the drum for the Wildcats. Lots of cool activities for kids outside. There was like we have outdoor oval rink there. Everyone was playing around with their families on, and I'm still processing it all. It was a really cool week. It was a very tiring weekend, but a really, really cool weekend. They made a lot of cool connections, and Moncton did a fantastic job as host, and the whole Sportsnet staff. Like they could have been more gracious to be here.
That's a fun day and a great experience for all of you guys. And yeah, it's one of my favorite days of the year, and hopefully they hit the Saskatchewan, Manitoba area soon, because I plan on heading up for that day, because it's
I suspect they will, because they like most things, and like they do east west, right? So they can't go much further east in Canada than here. So I suspect you'll see it in the prairies next year, if not further in British Columbia.
It was in Winkler, I guess it's probably been a while ago now, but that was one that was really close that I probably should have
And I think last year was Canmore, Alberta, if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
Time as well, yeah.
It was.
Yeah. So here, my question for you, given how we had to kind of, I can't remember if I think I texted you and we were back and forth on the phone. It's like, okay, like I guess we got to record, right? When do you think? What's your gut? That I wanted to punch you in earlier. What's your gut? What's your gut telling you for when the next move is going to take place for the Calgary Flames? Next trade, I should say.
I'll tell you something funny. My phone was just buzzing a second ago with a bunch of stuff on X, and I'm like, oh gosh, did they flip him already? I don't know. I think to many's dismay, I think it probably nothing. We won't see anything till after the Olympics now.
I think they might move another defenseman for a pick.
Think so?
Yeah, because I really think that, because Conroy's finally made this move, they're going to want to clean up that logjam sooner than later, I think. But I think the bigger names, Coleman and Cgy, are going to be way closer to the line. And Coleman, pursuant to the discussion that you mentioned earlier with Elliot Friedman, I think that's going to come down to the wire. He could run out his contract here. I don't want that because he's such a cashable asset. But I like the player a lot. And like we said in our last show, it's one of the best contracts, if not the best contract the team's ever signed a player to.
He was one of the guys that this year, earlier this year, I was like, well, I'm fine if they keep him just because he's been such a good leader for this team. And like, I'm fine if they keep him. But then I was like, he was doing so well this year. I could just see that return value rising and rising and rising. I'm like, well, now it's risen to a limit. We gotta act on this. And now he's on the injured reserve. So I'm not really truly sure where that stands right now because they've been really quiet on that injury. That'll something we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we should know some more on that soon. And I'll be shocked as well if you don't see Michael Backlund added to Team Sweden before the Olympic get here. What a snub. What a terrible snub.
I looked at that roster and I'm just like, it was a group of them. I was like, how is Backlund not on there? And then they are.
Especially with the season he's having. Like, it's just stupid. Anyway.
And I'm not trying to rip on Coleman for saying this, but like everybody always says, you put anybody with Backlund and Coleman and they look good. And I laugh because I'm like, is it both Backlund and Coleman or is it just Backlund? Because now Yegor Sharangovich looks like a 40 goal scorer all of a sudden. And guess what? He's playing with Backlund. And I get so frustrated when he's criticized like he is. And I just think, man, are they watching the same game I'm watching? Because Michael Backlund is everything we want in a veteran to help lead us with the youth movement.
I paid $400 for one of his game-worn jerseys from the 17-18 season, I think, with a 100th anniversary patch on it. Easily the best game-worn investment I ever made.
Oh, for sure.
And you know what? Before we run along here, too, let's just touch quickly on Sharangovich because that's important. That goal he scored against the Islanders on Big Save Dave, like he ripped that. Like he looks like the player that scored 30 years ago the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Be nice to see that continue.
It would. The thing is, not that we're like pro tank or anything, but we're been pretty vocal about wanting to edge our way down in the standings this year to try to get that first overall. But now you get guys like Zary and you're Sharangovich and all those guys start clicking. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we're winning games again, right?
No, not necessarily. We can still find ways to lose them. So that'd be the best of both worlds of our players to have really good individual showings and we see some progression of these young defensemen and we still finish as low as possible because it's not about being team tank. It's about understanding the position you're in, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not a good hockey team. We're not going to be a good hockey team. And there's after going to be teams for growing pains before we are. And those growing pains need to happen right now, or again, this team will not be the competitive team we want them to be in another year and a half.
I tell you, so many people talk about growing pains and they talk about 3, 4, 5 years. And boy, I just don't see that. I think if it's done correctly and we get the right assets, this can be, a couple years of struggles and then years of really, really fun hockey after that.
Well, you can give credit to teams too that, not everybody goes through the same ebbs and flows. The Boston Bruins are a very competitive hockey team, and after they, traded their captain at last year's deadline, you'd start to think like, okay, the wheels are falling off. They handcuff themselves some bad deals to Lindholm and Storov. And they're right in the mix. They damn near acquired Rasmus Andersson because they have a good team. So look for them to maybe continue doing it. But my point is, we can we can follow a similar form. We don't have to be bad forever, but we have to make the right decisions now, or we are going to be bad or mediocre forever, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
for sure. Well, what lies ahead for the Flames this week? Monday night, Jersey comes to the Saddle Dome. Busy week, actually. And then Wednesday, Pittsburgh's in town. Friday is Washington in town for Ovechkin's last game in Calgary. And then Sunday, Anaheim is in town.
Oof, that'd be a tough one.
I love watching Anaheim this year. I really like watching Anaheim this year.
Well, that's the other thing too. So Francois Beauchemin was here for the whole weekend for Hockey Day in Canada. And he's interviewed, I don't know if you saw on the broadcast, but he said the toughest player he ever played against was Jarome Iginla.
Really?
Yeah. And actually, speaking about Beauchemin quickly, he was answering a question and Bieksa was at the hot stove at the banquet. And I forget what Bieksa said, but he chirped Beauchemin, something to do with, how many points he had in the NHL or something like that. And Beauchemin just took the microphone and was like, well, I got a cup.
Ooh.
And Bieksa just went, yeah, okay. It was pretty great.
You gotta love the good banter like that. That's what this is about, and that's what's fun.
Yeah.
We made it an entire episode, Kyle, and guess what?
What?
We never talked about one play in last week's hockey action of the Flames. Didn't say one thing.
Didn't need to, I guess. I love Ball's hit against Chicago. I'd like to highlight that. Let's see more of that from him. But anyway,
I take it back. We talked about Sharon Govich's goal. I like Kuznetsov's goal too. All in all, not a bad week of Flames hockey. And
shout out to Justin Kirkland for scoring his first goal in 14 months. Good for him.
Yeah. So yeah, it was Columbus 5-3 over the Flames, and in Chicago, the Flames beat 3-1, and Islanders 4-2 on Hockey Day in Canada. So not a bad week for the Flames. On the ice, off the ice, the trade happens with Rasmus Andersson heading to the Vegas Golden Knights. The return, not too shabby, I would say.
I'm going to give it a B+, but reserve judgment until I see what they also do with Zach Whitecloud.
Yep.
And again, Weeb's going to be a ways for me to know what he is or isn't, but the complaint now, the complaints will start to die off, I think. The trade is done. The shock is still there. It just happened, but days ahead, we'll see how we feel.
Absolutely. This week, Jersey in town, Pittsburgh in town Wednesday, Friday, Washington, Sunday, Anaheim. Flames fans, it was a week. That's the way I would describe it. A week.
Another one coming up.
All right, have a good week, Flames fans, and we're back for a Tuesday release next week. Enjoy your week. Enjoy the hockey action, as there's lots of it this week.
So jump to my flame like you've never been warm. Jump to my flame like you've never been warm. Jump to my flame like you've never been warm before.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.